Today we're going to be building a really incredible watch. I have all the parts I bought online, and we're going to be making a dive watch that's basically a cross between a Rolex Yachtmaster and a Sea-Dweller. For the parts, we have an oyster case with a unidirectional rotating bezel. It's really solid, and I'm definitely happy with the quality of this case. It also has a sapphire crystal with no date magnifier, similar to the Sea-Dweller, and a display case back. Look at this pearly white dial. It looks so good. I'm really pleased with the quality, and the white hour markers really pop. I like that the dial isn't a sunburst, but still plays nicely with the light. The bezel insert is really cool and made of ceramic. It has a matte silver color with polished numerals and minute track running from the 12 to the 3 o'clock. For the hands, they're the Rolex Mercedes style, and I also got a light blue seconds hand to add a touch of color and bring some contrast to the white and silver colors throughout the watch. I picked up a new rotor, which should add a nice detail and be fun to look at when viewing the movement. The rotor has a wave pattern in white and matches perfectly with the dial. The movement is the Seiko NH35. Nothing fancy, but will get the job done. I'm really excited to see how this all comes together, so let's get started building. Before we get started, let's get some finger gloves on to protect everything and keep it clean. It's really easy to get fingerprints or dust on the dial, so this will help make sure we don't run into that problem. It's cool seeing the movement on its own and all the small moving parts. I think the first thing we should do is get the new rotor put on. It looks really good in what seems like a very thin and a bit flimsy metal sheet, so I need to be extra careful. It's attached to this existing rotor by these sticky gluey stickers that were already applied and just needed peeling. Because of how thin it is, I'm not sure how easily it would be to remove it if it wasn't placed center, so here's to a steady hand. That seems to be lined up evenly and looks so good. I wasn't too sure about the rotor, but I decided to buy it just to see it in person, and I'm glad I did because it looks really great and it adds a nice touch of detail. Now it's time to place the dial onto the movement. It's quite simple, and I made sure to get a dial that fits the NH35 movement. Let's get it out of the bag and ready for its new home. The more I look at this dial, the more I smile. It looks so crisp. I like that there is no logo below the 12 o'clock, but still has some text above the 6, so it's not completely sterile. I think without the text it would be a bit too boring. There are two pegs on the back side of the dial that fit into holes on the movement to keep the dial in place. Line up the dial on top of the movement, and there it is. All looks good to go. I'm really blown away by this dial. It looks fantastic online in photos and even better in person. I think the details are incredible and exactly what I was looking for. We have a great set of hands that I'm excited to see how they look paired with the gorgeous pearly white dial. The hour and minute hands are the classic Rolex Mercedes style with an accenting blue seconds hand. Without a doubt, the toughest part of this build is installing the hands. The hour and minute hand go around a post, and the seconds hand has a peg that fits inside a hole. Because of how small and delicate the hands are, makes this a challenge. I made sure to wind the watch just when it changes the date and place the hands at the 12 o'clock. First up is the hour hand. I use a pushing tool that has various sizes at the tip to install each hand. Next up is the minute hand. Both are looking good, and now time for the hardest hand of all. For this, I put on a visor with the magnifying lens to help me see clearly. Although I have 20/20 vision, these things are small. Seeing the seconds hand tick away is the sign of victory I'm looking for. These watch hands really bring the design together, and the touch of blue adds a really nice splash of details to the watch. Now for the most exciting part of the build, and that's putting everything together and seeing how it looks as a complete watch. Before we place the dial and movement in the case, let's blow out anything that may have collected and make sure everything is clean. I've had watches that had debris under the glass, and as small as it was, and only visible in certain angles, it could totally bring out the watch snob in me. I always enjoy this part of the build because 1, it means the hands are installed correctly and line up, and 2, seeing all the different parts joined together is a beautiful sight. I never know exactly how everything will pair together, so it's an exciting moment seeing the watch come alive. Once the movement is back in the case, we could add the stem. This case uses a plastic movement holder to keep everything tight and perhaps add a little bit of shock absorption. Before closing her up, let's give it one more blow and get the case back sealed up. This bezel insert is insane. As soon as I saw it online, I knew it was the right one for this watch. It has some serious Yachmaster vibes and looks amazing. Seeing it with the white dial and blue hand is such a great combination. I like that there isn't a date magnifier. I know it's a bit polarizing. You either love them or hate them, and I'm certainly the latter. I don't know what it is exactly about them, but they just look a bit out of place. Before we install the bracelet, let's do one last quality control check to make sure the date changes properly and the hands wind as they should. Everything checks out. I can't wait to get this on my wrist and see how it looks. I think this is a total home run. It's such a stunning watch. Classic design and great colors. I'm so happy with how this turned out. It has a familiar style, but still my own since it's a custom watch. I made sure to take the right amount of links off the bracelet on each side so it fits perfectly centered on my wrist. This watch looks absolutely gorgeous, and I don't think it's going to leave my wrist for a really long time. I hope you had fun with me building this custom watch. I'll see you next time.